Welcome back everyone. Now that we've got ourselves a comfortable little base set up over here, we're going to actually start working on basically medium to large projects. Obviously we still have an outstanding primary goal of getting a greenhouse up and running for our own food production, but it's going to take us a couple of steps to get there, to be honest. Now, no matter what kind of build you decide to do or try your hand at here on Vulcan, you're always going to find that you're faced with one challenge consistently, and that would be temperature. So it probably stands to reason that the first build we do is going to be designed to try and help us mitigate temperature problems. That is to say, we're going to try and do a coolant generating setup. The general idea here is that we basically capture gases from outside and then we cool them down a lot, after which point we capture some more gases, cool it down again, and we keep repeating this process until we build up a supply of coolant, really cold gases. At this point we can basically take that coolant and pump it around in pipes and radiators to cool other areas down, and then of course we continue to cool the central coolant storage chamber. Now I'll be the first to admit I haven't actually tried this before, so I'm not 100% sure how successful it's going to be, but from everything I know about the game I can envision it working quite well, so we'll just have to see how that pans out. Part of the reason I've never done stuff like this before is because I've never really played Vulcan with any level of seriousness, or not really much at all, to be honest. And I feel like it's probably only really on Vulcan that you'd need something as extreme as a coolant generating system. Another thing that factored into this decision was that I am actually going to want some windows on my base at some point. I know I have one over there for the power generator, but that's just one tiny little panel. And the thing about Vulcan is, you know how you get the greenhouse effect on pretty much any planet when you add glass windows? The sun filters through the glass window and heats up the air inside. Well, on Vulcan, that situation is quite extreme. Even just a few little glass panels can supercharge the heat inside of your base over time. It's actually quite crazy. I know, because I did some sample experiments with growing plants using the natural sunlight, which is pretty bountiful on Vulcan, and let's just say it did not go well for my temperature situation. So yeah, coolant for the win, or at least I hope it will be. So right now I'm just basically building all the little bits and pieces that I'm going to need to put this lot together. I was actually originally going to make this video about doing an automated satellite dish tracking script, but that turned into a total disaster. After about a solid week of effort, I finally just completely gave up on it. The problem with the satellite tracking script is that the satellite dish doesn't give you the same level of control that the computer does. With the computer you can access information about multiple different traders and their signal strengths, and you also have a category system where you can indicate to only see traders and not just remote satellites, all that other nonsense that doesn't have too much purpose in the game. Whereas the satellite dish's signals basically only give you access to one trader at a time, whichever one has the highest signal strength at that point in time, and what it tells you what its signal strength and its ID is. So you might be thinking, no worries, we just move the satellite dish a little bit in the X and a little bit in the Y direction and use the adjustment in the signal strength to triangulate the exact position you need the satellite to be at, and bam, awesome satellite tracking script. Yeah, that's not happening. But quickly before I get into that, let's just go mine ourselves some silicones. Whoa! I may or may not have let my cable production running a tad bit too long. Let's just see if I can somehow stop this machine, if I can even get to the button here. Oh man, there goes all my copper. So yes, back to my rant about the disaster of automating the satellite dish. In some kind of unimaginably wise decision, they decided to truncate the signal strength to whole numbers. This means that if you only move a small amount in either the X or Y direction, horizontal or vertical, you're very unlikely to get even a 1% change, because it will only shift the whole number at a time, which means you'll basically have no idea what happened to the signal strength, so you won't know where to go next. So basically, oh, this thing's stuck in there. Let's just get a spanner out of there, because I don't think cable coil feeds the solid fuel generator as a power source very well. So this means that we have to shift horizontal or vertical on our satellite dish for a fair distance, several degrees at a time, if we want even a hope of changing the signal strength and getting some kind of reading out of the thing, which also won't be accurate enough for triangulation. You'll basically have to shift several degrees, check that it made a difference, shift another several degrees, check that it made a difference, and just carry on like that basically. The problem with that, of course, is that if you shift several degrees at a time, you have a very strong chance of shifting into another signal's strength zone, where its strength became stronger than the current signal you were trying to track. And since you can only see one at a time, that is a catastrophe, because your script will get super confused and have no idea what it's supposed to do next. It lost the signal it was dealing with, and now it's got a new signal with a new strength. And what's it supposed to make of that exactly? So maybe you can try and backtrack or do fancy code like that. It's a nightmare. Add to this the problem that there are multiple signals that have no relevance to you, and the whole signal space becomes very cluttered and very likely to switch when you really don't want it to, because it'll mess up your script. Basically, it's a shit show. Don't bother. You're wasting your time. It's basically impossible to automate the satellite dish with this current signal setup. I don't know why they even bothered. After about a week of effort and fine-tuning a very limited 128 line script, I managed to get it to the point where I'd say it manages to home in on a new signal each time successfully about 50% of the time. And that's not taking into account the fact that most of the signals it's going to be homing into are not even traders, because the script has no way of telling what's a trader and what's not a trader, because they don't give you that information. Yay. Okay, no, seriously. End of my satellite dish automation rant now. Let's move on to brighter pastures. I just needed to vent and get that out of my system. Week of my time wasted, gee. Just building all the stuff I need here, including some frames and walls and stuff. And I built this lock over here to store all my building components that I'm going to be needing, basically. Nice convenient storage, a lot more convenient than using the vending machine. Okay, now that all my walls and stuff are built, I'm going to borrow this active vent, since I'm going to be needing one more. Let's also just take the pipe here while we are at it. Whoa, shit, what happened? Oh, I saw that pipe, it broke. 100 kPa, open that door quick. Vent, before my base blows apart. I doubt I'm ever finding that slab of gold again. Come on. Okay, close it. The pressure's down to 60 kPa. Holy cow. I always thought when you delete pipes, it basically deletes the gases that's in the pipe. And while I guess that's largely true, what I didn't realize was when you delete pipes, the gases in the pipe moves into the remainder of the pipe. So that meant I took gas that was distributed amongst 6 segments of pipe, and by the time I got down to deleting the last pipe, all that gas was stuck in that one pipe, and it went well over its 60 megapascal pressure limit. And I saw that's why that pipe briefly exploded before I managed to remove it. And that's where all the gas ended up with that 150 kPa pressure I had inside my base. So that'd be good to keep in mind for future. But right now I just need to get rid of more hot gases because I don't want to have this. So let's set up this one pipe segment and pump gas into that. The idea, I think, is that I'll just occasionally remove that pipe to basically delete the gas. I know I'm technically cheating now, but hey, this was a bit unforeseen circumstances. Yeah, okay, it's got 13 megapascals in there. We can carry on pumping. Once it gets a bit closer to 60, I'll just stop it and delete the pipe to delete the gas. At least if there's only one segment, I don't have to risk it blowing up like it did last time. Okay, rinse and repeat. Now that that's taken care of and nighttime is busy falling, I'm gonna start working on my expansion. We're gonna make a new, I could say, entrance, but more like a passageway out of our base on this side over here.
Jetpack on.
Just having some trouble figuring out how I want to lay this out exactly. So I've already gone ahead and started using these fancier wall designs because I already know what I want the inside of this coolant room to look like. By the way, building these steel wall type variants and steel frames uses steel instead of iron. Obviously, you had to research it as one of the items, but they do have a lot more options and nicer designs. They're also stronger. They can handle more air pressure before they get blown apart. And perhaps more importantly, they're actually a lot cheaper to build, which you might not have expected. For something that costs a 2 iron wall sheet or floor wise, typically you'd only spend half as much in the same steel price, or 1 steel. So if something costs you 8 iron to build from the iron range, and normally from the steel range it will cost you 3 iron and 1 coal to make 4 steel. So that's quite a bit cheaper. So I built that fancy little roller shutter door over there. Basically, it's a solid wall with a roller shutter in front of it, which is really cool because you can use it to hide like your IC chips and electronic components and stuff that you need screwdriver access to without it being in plain visible sight, which is pretty nice, and it should also be airtight. So pretty cool. It's basically you just build a regular door, and it's one of the 3 variants on the regular door. So my coolant room, like most of my base that I'm planning, is actually going to be 2 walls high. I got the general idea that I'm going to have like this top floor that's basically more like a air duct kind of scenario. All your fancy and nasty pipes and cables that doesn't fit in anywhere else can just kind of go in there, and you can walk around up there to build stuff if needed. And it's going to be like out of sight and blocked off by upside down floor grating, or at least that's kind of like the plan I've got in my head. We'll see how well that actually works out when you finally get around to using it, but I think it will produce a pretty good result.
Jetpack on.
Just a tad bit confusing because most walls use a steel, but some of them actually use plastic sheets. So I'm actually going to make this my brand new airlock, and I'm going to get rid of the old airlock, well, more like door thing that I had. It wasn't even a full-on airlock. I have to build an inside facing wall on the right, otherwise I'm not going to be able to put anything against the back wall like that. And I need to put my active vent over there for the airlock. Now I'm not fussing over the wall and floor and what design for anything except the coolant room itself at the moment. I will kind of spice that up later on at a later stage when I have a better idea where everything's headed. It's only really the coolant room that's planned out, so I know what kind of wall designs I want there. But for the rest, we'll just deal with it later. We'll just use random walls for now. Let's not make that same mistake again. I want nice wall, a nice long pipe this time, so I don't have any more accidents. Yeah, as soon as I powered that vent up, I left it on to just suck up all the excess gases in the room. Or in the base, I should say. It's nighttime now. We should be able to break down the outer wall and place the second portion of our airlock. So that's interesting. I can place a glass door here. I'm guessing it's because there's another glass door right next to it. I didn't actually know that. Yeah. Oh well, no choice but to delete this one to test the theory. Yeah, works now. Okay. This also gives this vent a chance to just vent its pipe contents out from all the gas that's sucked up from inside the base. Because we're going to be sucking up a whole lot more gas soon.
Jetpack on.
Now I am severely short on copper. Funny, because the bar that flew out of my airlock was the gold bar, which I don't see lying around anywhere, but again my chances of finding it are rather slim, to be honest, of the way it flew out of that airlock and into a Vulcan lava pit somewhere. We're just going to leave that on, so carry on sucking up all the gases from inside the base. So we can get vacuum going one final time in this base, and it should be pretty much maintained after that. Since we no longer have things inside the base producing gases, like furnaces and stuff. I mean, we have a furnace, but it doesn't produce any gas inside the base. The arc furnace would have, though, and the solid fuel generator would have. But that stuff's no longer inside the base, so not a concern. We can probably successfully maintain our vacuum. Unless we do something silly like turn on our jetpack. So we're going to have to end it off here for now. We've successfully expanded and restructured our base a little bit using the new nicer steel parts. We're going to continue in that vein, eventually removing the old iron walls and floors and crappy base over time. In the next episode we will actually build and automate and finish making our coolant generation and storage room. And yeah, that'll be pretty sweet. So I'll see you guys next time.